KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Just in the nick of time right there, didn't I?
Yeah. I'm texting you. You got 60 seconds. You're in the elevator.
Exactly. I was in the elevator like 60 seconds, and then guess who made it here for the duet?
Kelso had the limo stop off and pick up donuts before he came in. You know, he's just running a little bit late.
You know how it goes. Every once in a while, you got to do that.
The limo guy's tapping his watch. You know, looking.
He's
in
like,
the
"Hey,
shop.
man, you know, you got to get out of here." You know, he's you know. But the problem is the crowd. When I got there, the crowd was all around.
Fine.
They wouldn't let me out of the place. That is correct. You know, the police escort also could not get the people off the street.
I recognize you. You're that guy from the radio.
Yes, that is correct. You know, I tell them all the time, I've got a face for radio.
All the time.
All the time.
Oh, wow.
Cheers.
You know what? That's like one of my favorite comments. If anybody says, "You look familiar," I say, "You might know me from radio."
and they give you a 30-second blank.
Yeah, it takes a few seconds, and it usually hits them, yeah. So.
That is correct.
Too funny. That's too funny.
Not a bad one, actually.
Well,
recognize me from my
I'm so
radio
glad that
show.
you can make it today. I thought you decided to take a holiday weekend off, and everyone's here today.
Yeah, everyone's here as usual.
But I won't be here next week.
I know that is correct.
I will be in San Antonio.
You'll be in San Antonio.
Time.
I'll be serving time for the Texas Association. I'm a regional vice president for the Texas Association of Realtors, and I've been doing that for about 12 years. And this is right now. It's my last year. I hadn't been reassigned.
Well, what are you going to do when that's up, Rob?
I have a life, maybe.
I'm going to look into crocheting.
You know, I'm still on committee.
Macrame.
Yeah, you know, I'm still chairman for the professional standards. I'm
right.
I'll be chair for the risk management. So I'm still doing a lot of volunteer work.
That is correct. Well, you know, you're my go-to guy when I have a question about real estate.
Well,
or if anybody else has a question about real estate.
I get a lot of those phone calls every week about what's going on. So we're here today, and you know what we're doing is we're going to talk about post-inspection services type things. Because a lot of times, you know, when Ashley goes out, you know, Ashley A.B. Bowles, who is one of our great sponsors, goes out and inspects a home, and sometimes an inspection leads to another inspection.
That is correct.
And with us today is John Dowdy with Permapere, who another one of our great sponsors, and who kind of seems to be showing up every week.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
either live in the studio or to bring us breakfast, which is always really good.
Which I did give him a hard time about because he did not bring us any breakfast today.
This morning, really?
Look,
Look, man, if you're going
to fall in the limo and I couldn't get out of the street and all that business.
I know,
so.
you know, but all those girls were just following me down the street, and I kept trying to tell them, be careful, but then all the guys are pulling up, and they're, you know, all want to get involved in the action. It's a rough morning this morning.
You know, if you're going to not bring breakfast when you're a guest, and only when you just show up randomly, then
we're never going to invite you anymore.
Yeah, we're never going to ask you to be a guest again.
All right.
Minimum standards here, you know. It's all your fault. You started doing it.
We enjoyed that Jason's Deli's those breakfast croissants.
That is correct.
They're awesome.
Chris,
he says that with such flair.
Yeah.
Yes, he's like, I enjoyed those breakfast croissants.
But anyway, we're talking about today.
One shameless plug, $47.50.
Yes. or a free breakfast.
Or a free breakfast.
There you go.
That is correct.
Your choice, Jason's Deli.
So back to our serious conversation. Or do we really want to talk about real estate today? It's a holiday weekend.
It's a holiday weekend. Yeah, it's just time to relax, let our hair down, have a good time, right?
Well, if you have some hair to let down.
I know, I don't have any right now. Well, I was talking to Joe, actually.
Who has even less.
One of my employees was just randomly comes into my office and says, "You didn't tell me we're off Monday?" And I'm like, I had the problem of assuming that you knew.
It's on all the calendars. It's a national holiday.
But to her credit, she said she used to work at a car dealership in their marketing department where they were all like double time on the hours for every holiday. So I was
Right.
like, okay, well, that's fair enough. But
I forget every holiday just because I work all the time. So it's one of those things that I'm like,
oblivious.
They reminded me on Friday, like, no, Monday we're not going to be here. I'm like, why not? And they're like, because it's a holiday.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, good deal. Okay, that sounds cool. I'll still be working somewhere.
Much earlier on Tuesday, right? Slave driver, Scrooge.
Far from it, fortunately.
No, I know. No, you're one of the most generous guys I know. So back to John
Back to
Dowdy.
the conversation.
We want to talk about this. We don't have to.
Isn't the theme,
It's our show.
isn't the theme today, what you don't know can hurt you?
It's kind of
Generically?
it's kind of a post inspection things, because a lot of times when you'll see something like I say, when Ashley Bowles, who again was one of our sponsors, will put something on an inspection report,
Right.
which might lead to another inspection.
Yep.
And
Best home inspector in town.
he's awesome.
He does
Yes.
a great job.
He is awesome.
And, part of what makes him really good, by the way, is he does all this on work on his home, so he knows everything behind the wall. Pretty crazy.
Very true.
I saw him last night. He just got finished pouring a slab for somebody.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, he's very, very, very
He has a
knowledgeable.
tendency to volunteer himself for projects. I don't know.
I can't wait to have a project to give to him.
Yeah, no. Makes two of us.
So, are we going to come back and talk to John, or are we just going to keep rambling on? Or
No. I was waiting for the question to come out. I'm absolutely fine. Yeah.
How about those Astros? I did watch the Little League World Series on just nothing to do with anything.
Yes. It was actually pretty good, by the way.
It was really good.
Yeah,
It was just
absolutely.
on. I randomly watched it. It was
Yes.
pretty impressive.
And they had that one girl who was really good,
Yes.
actually.
Oh my gosh, 71 mile per hour fastball.
Yes. Yep.
That's
So-
How old
insane.
was this kid?
Yeah.
She's like 12.
Holy
I'll tell you, if I put all my energy behind throwing a ball, I get like 40.
I'm with you. I'm like,
with a running start, right?
Yeah, with a running start, exactly.
The crazy thing was, and this is how, off the beaten trail we're going here, is that
Wow.
they said that in Little League, because of the smaller field, that pitch is the equivalent of trying to hit a 91 mile per hour fastball because of the size of the field. It's a smaller distance. You're like a 12-year-old kid trying to hit a 91 mile per hour, ball.
Wow. I have a hard enough time hitting a 20 mile per hour ball.
You're right.
Or maybe one that's standing still.
I'm all for T-ball myself. So, anywho, how about the foundation repair?
Yes.
Well, going back to what we were talking about earlier, inspections can lead to other inspections. And what we see quite often is that a real estate inspector will go in and flag a home for foundation problems. That's not always a bad thing. Okay. Now, Ashley Bowles is an awesome inspector. I unfortunately have not had the opportunity of following up one of his inspection reports. However, what an inspector's job is to do is to alert the buyer or the seller or both parties of what the potentials are. Typically speaking, inspectors are not trained in every single field. So to do so, you'd spend a lifetime, and you need to get paid more than that
Right.
to do that. So what we'll do as a company, and what I've done for a long time, and what one of my colleagues, Brian Gilchrist, will do, he'll run in and evaluate a home based on an inspection report, actually make a site visit, and really put two and two together with it. What's going on? What is causing the movement? What's causing the signs of concern? What the potential risks are, and if necessary, what a repair plan is to go with it.
Yeah. Well, I actually had it happen. I live in a townhome, and it's a monolithic slab for all the units, one large slab.
Right.
And they
always
actually
fun.
It wasn't fun for who had to repair it. But what they did is they went in and they did what they call internal repairs. In other words, they have to actually bust out a hole in your floor,
Right.
my expensive tile, and they dug down. It looked like it was very strange to see people below my floor. I don't have a basement. It's like I can see them down there working, and they're about 6 or 8 feet down. In some of those.
That's probably a little much, but I mean,
It looked like 6 or 8
it
feet
might
from
look
my
like 6 or 8
perspective.
feet,
but
but no,
anyway,
it's-
they repaired that. But then they came back later on and repaired. They did an excavation of the house to repair the leaking plumbing, because this was built in 1982.
Right.
And so the pipes had broken, and so that's why the slab had an issue. A lot of times that happens, and there was some black pipe that was used back in like the 60s that actually kind of dissolves.
It's cast iron.
Yeah.
Usually.
And what happens is that the earth becomes the pipe. But that area of that house is going to be constantly very wet in that spot. So if you see that it's always wet in an area and you don't know why, sometimes it's a dissolved pipe. And that's when you start having foundation issues.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's always advised to homeowners, hey, go get your plumbing checked, get a hydrostatic test once every couple of years is what I advise, and just see if it's leaking. Make sure your pipes are in order.
Yep, I would thoroughly, absolutely agree.
We're letting that one go.
I'm over here eyeballing Joe, going,
Let it
what's
go,
he got
let
in
it
the
go,
bag?
Letting it go. Reminder of a conversation we had, I don't know, a couple shows
Last
ago.
time we had Permapeer on.
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
The time before last.
I don't know
Last
if
time
we can have
held our
these guys
composure.
on anymore. It just
Exactly.
spirals out of control.
It just spirals out of control right there.
It does.
But you know, one of the things though, we were talking about inspections and talking about post-inspection reports. A lot of times they'll note on there, drainage not draining correctly, or water pressure low, et cetera, et cetera. And then what they'll end up doing is they'll having, as you mentioned, saying, I need to have we're going to say a structural engineer to come in and take a look at this, et cetera, et cetera. A foundation actually does affect a lot of different aspects because of so many things that go into the foundation and go out to the street, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the foundation is probably, and I would consider it the single most important thing. Now, it's not the only important thing.
Yeah, I like roofs a lot too.
Yeah, roofs are good. Walls
Roofs
are good.
I like roofs.
ACs are nice, especially here in Houston. But as far as foundations go, I mean, if your foundation decides it wants to get a little crazy on you and wants to move around, everything else in the house is tied to that, whether it be your plumbing, your structural, load-bearing walls, your roof, everything else. So, I mean, that's where it can get a little tricky, and that's where people can get really, really frightened, is because, oh my goodness, my foundation's moving. I've had a little saying, we've got 3 F words we don't say in real estate business: fire, flood, and foundation. And Rob's eyes got freaking huge.
I was going the complete opposite direction, by the way.
I think. Yeah, no
There's one
kidding.
more, yeah.
We have a
There's
7-second
probably a
delay
few
button,
more,
so
I'm about to get cut off the air here. Hold on.
Yeah, when you said that, everyone's like, "There's 3 F words." We're like, "Oh crap!" Our producer's sitting over there. She's like, "Oh my gosh, where is that button? I've never had to use it."
I thought we were referred to as the bad boys of Christian radio.
yeah,
So, I mean,
we can't be that bad though.
We're the bad boys, but we don't want to get a fine. Let me tell you that.
That's right. No, I mean, everybody's concerned about foundation problems. I mean, the biggest thing I can tell you to do is, look, if you've got questions, get an expert out there, because quite honestly, who studies foundations? Nobody.
Yeah. That sounds entirely boring.
No, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a lot of reports. I've seen a lot of reports where they'll say a cable's exposed. Talk about that a little bit.
Post-tension
Post-tension
cable?
cables.
Yeah. Usually what that means, now, not all the time. If you have one exposed through the float of the slab, then you got big problems. But
Or explain what the float of the slab is.
right, well, the float being the actual finished section of the slab, what you would consider your floor, your base floor. So if you were to rip up the carpet, rip up the tile, whatever floor covering you have, that's what we call the float. Now, most of the time when we talk about post-tension cables being exposed, it's going to be on the very edge of the slab. Now, it's going to be the exterior beam, and the little concrete caps they use to cover it up and make it look pretty will fall out. Unless there's something sticking out of there, or there's a big nasty crack, or something goofy looking, those little concrete caps fall out all the time. They did it on my house. They'll do it on all of them.
Yeah, I see it on inspection reports quite a bit, but it needs to be replaced because you can start rusting.
Right, it can start rusting. It can start rusting the cable, and the easiest way to do that, you can contact a contractor. You can call people out to do that. I mean, and once again, without seeing your particular problem, if this applies to you, is
Toothpaste.
Yeah, toothpaste.
Toothpaste.
And you can get the tube, you just squirt it in there.
Squirt it in there, and
Yeah, putty it in a little bit.
That's
I'm
right.
not calling you guys to help me repair anything.
Bubblegum and toothpaste.
Oh, wait, that's only sheetrock.
MacGyver
That's
used
only
to
sheetrock.
do everything
That's
that way.
right. My bad.
Well, you see, you can go get you a spatula and just kind of you can run down to your local hardware store, pick up a bucket of hydraulic concrete, mix it up in a little tub, and dab it in there. It's an easy DIY kind of thing.
If you let it continue to rust, what could happen?
Well, the whatever locking mechanism they use can eventually rust, and it's got to get real bad before it gets to this. But it can eventually cause the cable to no longer anchor into the side of the slab. You can lose tension in it, and effectively that particular cable is no good anymore. And we can get into what the importance of those cables are later on.
We
I know
are
it's gonna
actually.
come up on break.
We are coming up against a break right now. You know, time flies when you're having fun or when you're running late. In my case, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back.
Yes,
Having a good
we
time.
are. Yeah,
You
we're
know, one of-
talking on the break.
We were talking on the break. You know, one of the reasons why I was running late is because I got my two beautiful kids here
Yes,
this
you
morning.
do.
Actually.
You do have beautiful
So-
kids and smart too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Very smart.
Absolutely. We'll see if
Good.
I can get Andrew here to come in and yell on the radio here in a minute and be like, hi.
Anyway, we talked about earlier that the function of a cable, because not everybody knows what a post tension slab is, and I think predominantly in most of your production homes, post tension is, from my knowledge, probably the last 30 years, dominant.
Right. I haven't seen anything built post 1995 with a rebar in it. I mean, driveways, sidewalks, things like that, sure. But as far as your actual slab itself, I mean, I don't know of anybody who's putting rebar in your foundation. What the function of a post tension cable is, and it's kind of a neat dual purpose thing. You lay the cables in, and then you pour the concrete around it. What the cables do, they act like a skeletal structure for the slab. Just like the human body, you need your bones to hold everything in place and hold everything together.
I was watching Chris make
Oh,
sure.
no, I was listening.
I'm paying attention here.
We need to pull it out
All
of the
good.
downward stall real
That
fast.
is correct. That is right.
All good.
As long as I don't look at Rob when you're speaking, I'm fine.
I don't know.
Why is it every time I show up, I act like a
don't know.
12-year-old?
I don't know. Whatever comes out of yours or Rob's mouth, Joe and I just have to laugh.
Fair
It's your own
enough.
show.
I'm-
You could
I'm the
call
straight-
it the innuendo show.
Innuendo show?
I am the straight guy, man. I don't know.
Straight guy.
I'm just trying to ask the questions and get a straight answer. And
Yep.
you guys are sitting there.
Welcome to Innuendo Show.
I mean, I guess we talked about this morning, day old donuts. I mean, that'd be a neat little show,
Right.
But that was courtesy of Vaughan here. I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about
The skeletal structure
yeah.
of the slab.
Yes.
Basically, what it does, it gives the concrete something to adhere to, gives the concrete its form, and allows it to bond together. Now, the tension portion of post-tension cable is but they'll tighten those cables up in order to provide exterior tension inward. So it basically compresses the slab, try and hold it from wanting to walk out or do anything wild. The cool thing about post-tension foundations when it comes to what we do here at Permapier, they're a lot more forgiving than a rebar slab.
Or a mother-in-law.
Or
I love holiday shows.
They're great.
I love my mother-in-law, if she's listening.
But there's a lot of post-tension that goes on in there, huh?
Good tie back.
Oh wow!
Hey, you know what?
How you like that one? I just tied back on the tie back.
That is correct.
Post-tension, tie back. Anyway.
long story short, folks, I mean, post-tension cables they're a good thing when installed properly. If an inspector says something about it, we could come out and take a look. I guess the main point here is if you have questions, get a hold of an expert.
If you have questions, actually call us.
I just never knew slabs were this funny.
Yes. Yes.
What happens if you have a cable tension foundation and one of the cables actually breaks?
Funny thing you ask that. I had an instance a few years ago. Actually, it didn't happen to me. It happened to one of my colleagues. He gets a phone call in the middle of the night. Some lady said, "My foundation exploded."
That was so funny.
So,
I mean, how do you determine that in the middle of, you wake up to a loud noise and your first thought is, my foundation exploded.
So the immediate advice to her was, get out of your house. I don't know what you're talking about. I'll be by in the morning.
Yes.
Right?
Seek help.
What had happened was one of the caps let go, probably because of it being rusted. Now, the other theory, and I didn't see this house. I don't know. I'm only speculating. It was either the caps were bad or somebody had over-tightened the cable and one of the caps let go, and it shot the cable out of the side of the slab about 6.5 foot.
Wow.
It probably sounded like a firecracker going off or something. I don't know. I imagine it'd be really loud. There are a couple companies, and I don't have any on hand, that will actually go in and retighten those cables if necessary. They can thread a new cable through. They've got a couple of different methods of doing that, and they use a hydraulic ram or a hydraulic machine very similar to the hydraulic machine that I use to drive piers in, and they'll tighten it to the proper specifications. They'll put the anchors in, and you're good to go. So if you lose a post-tension cable, if you're having repair work done, let's say you choose to break out in the interior of your home basically by jackhammering a hole in the center of your house as opposed to tunneling it to access an internal pier, it's not the end of the world. It can be fixed.
Well, question I've got, I was down actually in Galveston last weekend. Went to Moody Gardens, big shout out there, a lot of fun. Anyways, you know, I
750.
That is correct.
Moody Gardens.
Anyways, in going down there though, I was noticing everything is really pier and beam in that area. I mean, everything is down there is pier and beam, especially when you start getting to League City and start moving some of the areas on the coast right there, and then obviously all of Galveston. What's the difference, really? I mean, from a foundation perspective for a home, right? You have your normal post-tension slabs, then you've got your pier and beam. The pier and beam, how do those sort of work?
Pier and beams it's an older technology,
Right.
Back before we started pouring concrete that was strong enough to hold together, you'd put a pad and block down or some kind of support, put a wooden support structure down, and you'd build the rest of the house up off of that. One of the big things I see for Galveston, League City, anything closer to the bay, building a home on a pier and beam structure, a lot of times that's to elevate the home out of the floodplain in a less expensive manner than bringing in, filling in the lot, piering it, pouring a big old giant slab up, out of elevation.
Yeah.
So
when I was building custom homes, I did conventional slabs with piers, which basically you have a large grade beam, and then you'd actually do some drill tests to go find your first real firm strata of clay.
Yep.
And then I use a bell-bottom pier. So I was usually going down about 8 foot bell-bottom piers like that, and then I use a what they call a void box rather than tie it to the slab so they wouldn't cause too much stress on the slab and stuff like that. And those were pretty successful. But I think in custom homes, I think it's still being used, not so much in production homes.
Well, in the interest of the what you don't know can hurt you kind of thing, is there something that, as far as foundation or maintaining a foundation here in Houston, is there anything that you can do to avoid problems, things that could cause you issues down the road?
There are things you can do to deter problems.
I need guarantees.
Well, it's like
I'm kidding.
Like a used car lot here. If the muffler falls off, man, I'm sorry, buddy, I can't help you.
What'd you call that? A taillight?
A taillight warranty. I was talking about a crummy job I had a long time ago at a used car lot. Yeah. So
I think he's talking about things like soaker hose,
right?
And things like that keep around. And
here's the thing: I can put everybody to sleep with preventative maintenance stuff. Or you could go to www.permapier.com. There are the 10 most common mistakes made by homeowners. It's actually a list on there, and it's got some really neat stuff. And I cannot for the life of me, wow, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I cannot for the life of me remember the name of Brian Gilchrist's blog. He goes by the Houston Foundation guy. You can search him on the internet. He's got a really, really, really awesome blog on there. It's got a lot of
could you come prepared next time?
Yeah, a little bit. I can bring a little more knowledge and breakfast next time.
Okay, the breakfast is what we're...
I would say priority on the breakfast.
Real quick, I want to talk about it, because some companies are doing just where they're driving the piers, forcing it into the earth for support. You kind of do both. You do what you call typical piers that are poured concrete, and then some that are also kind of explain those processes.
There are a multitude of piling options out there. Some companies choose to use one or two or stay exclusive to one particular type of repair. What we've done is we've tailored our services to meet the needs of everyone. Your most commonly used pier in the Houston metro area, really in Texas, is going to be a press pier, where you use the resistance of the home or the load of the home as resistance to drive a pier into the ground using a hydraulic press. They're less expensive that way. I offer the same lifetime warranty on that pier as a Godzilla crazy pier. And
that's a technical term. Godzilla.
That's a very technical term.
Crazy. I haven't heard that terminology before. I'll put that in the archives.
We have all kinds of terminology.
Our producer
here at
really
Perma
needs
Pier.
breakfast over here.
Yeah,
Her stomach was growling. I heard it all the way across the room. Now she's bailing on us.
yeah.
She's going to get a day-old donut.
Dale donut. Concrete press piers, we use a concrete segmented piece of so basically a cylinder. That once again is the most common. You can use steel segments where you use a steel interlocking segment. You can use
When you say
bell bottom
interlocking, is
piers.
that with a cable? Where the cable?
No, they're offset, so you have an inner set and an outer set. Basically, what it does is it doubles the compressor strength of the pile, and it also keeps it from being able to shift back and forth or move or anything. Almost fits together like a puzzle piece. And that's a really effective pier. The only thing I don't like about that is the cost of those piers down here in Houston are so great because we don't have any accessible bedrock. Well, accessible may be a choice term because it's about 2,200 feet deep, but and I don't feel comfortable trying to drill all the way down there.
Feet.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not on the crew from Armageddon, so
Yes.
House in the Hole Homes. How can I help you?
yeah.
Now, how far down do these piers have to go to stabilize the home typically?
It
in
depends.
Houston?
It really depends. Those steel pilings drive a lot deeper because steel provides less friction than concrete. What stops the piling here in Houston metro area is that it's not. There's no bedrock. There's not a shelf down there. It's the applied friction from the soil against the pile. I've had cases in Houston where we drive 3 feet deep. I've had cases down south, Sugar Land, Stafford, Missouri City areas where we've gone 30, 40, 50 feet with concrete. And then I've had a house.
my.
Yeah, the last time I did steel piers down in Sugar Land, it was on a big old giant, heavy two-story house. And we drove piers for 85 feet.
Wow.
Steel. And I was looking at it going, I bid this job wrong. I'm losing my shirt today. So.
Wow.
Well, that's amazing.
Because Houston, our soil is mainly clay, isn't that correct? I mean,
right.
we're very clay rich.
People.
It depends.
Yeah.
Actually, you're the one that told me about that app.
Yeah,
you can,
there's
there's an app that'll GPS. They'll show you what kind of soil you're standing on.
Right
by
where
where
you're
you
standing.
are.
Yep.
Really?
It's
Yes.
called Soil Web, and you can find it on. I don't know about Androids. I know my iPhone. I can find it, but
I got an Android.
yeah.
Soil
you do?
Web.
Okay. Yeah. It's a neat app. You can figure out what kind of soil you've got. You've got a couple of different types, and once again, I won't go into. Got Vaughn over here playing magic tricks on me. I don't know what's going on. I don't think I've had enough coffee this morning for that. But
I thought it was his gang signs again.
Yeah.
gang
Exactly.
signs. Better watch out, man. The FCC might be listening. So.
Yes. I'm sure they tuned out 5 minutes ago. I'm sure.
Right. The Soil Web, though, that's
Soil Web. It's a neat app. It's got all kinds of stuff on it where you can find different soil classifications. We're basically divided between sand and clay. Most people refer to the Houston soils as gumbo. It just doesn't taste as good. So.
Yes.
we know what doesn't taste as good as whenever we have to go on a break.
Yes, we do.
But actually, what is good is because during the break we have a lot of fun as well. So, all
And
those
our
listening,
sponsors,
yes,
who
all those listening,
are wonderful.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
that they should do.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back.
Wait a minute.
No, that's the beginning of the show,
Sorry.
Joe.
My bad.
Anyway, one of my very favorite people and dear friends is with me today, Vaughan Pederson with Clean Air. That would be you, Vaughan, down there. He was looking around the
looking
studio.
around.
I was like,
Who's
Who's
here?
he talking about? Well, I got to put out a good image here. And Vaughan has a very unusual technology that is gets rid of mold and bacteria and smells and odors and that. As best as you can, explain that technology and how it's applied.
Exactly. Well, I use electrocatalytic technology. It's very new technology. Most people have never, ever heard of it. And most people don't really care about the science behind what I do. When I explain it to doctors or nurses, if I'm treating a home for a doctor or a boat or something or a commercial building, people will really ask about the technology. But basically, it's electrocatalytic, so I apply a technology that uses no consumable chemicals whatsoever. He uses electricity and a catalyst, and it creates oxygen species O8, which will flood a building. And exactly. But basically, I'll sterilize all the air and the surfaces inside a home, a commercial building, a car, a boat. Just got back from the lake and been down to Kemah, and what happens is you get yachts that people take out and play with once in a while. The rest of the time, they're closed up, and the sun is beating on them. And when you go in there, the air is not only stale, but you have some horrendous problems with indoor air quality.
Does it kill bacteria? Is that the process?
It does. It eliminates bacteria. It eliminates smoke. Actually, will pierce the molecular wall of the smoke, the carbon.